ban, just knocking down those early power junglers, and we might get stranded with Graves, Olaf, or Kha'Zix, which aren't quite as exciting, at least for me, in the sense of a jungler, as what they provide is almost exclusively damage.
Yeah. It's funny how many times we see Zyra banned against Core JJ. Actually, Samsung has 29% of the bans against them is the support place. And I think that is almost all the time because he always gets the Zyra ban. And even on red side, that is going to be banned out. Samsung, funnily enough, is going to take away the Elise.
And it might just mean that they're thinking about taking Galio for themselves at this point, to make sure that they don't trade a Galio for a powerful jungler and they don't get one in return. And with the Zac being taken away, I think you can almost all expect this pick coming now. Kennen is still available, but oh, really? The Karma does get to be the pick, and this is a flex. Crown had a lot of success with this one in the mid lane, and I actually think this might just be a Karma mid, because if Freak go ahead and take the Galio for themselves, Karma does have enough wave clear early on to mitigate the pressure that Galio has. She can get away from him relatively easily, and so the pick, I like it. I've yet to see it in action, but it does offer an interesting game plan to try to counter the Galio and not have to necessarily ban it.
I don't know, though. We were talking about how strong this Galio pick is in mid, and you can see immediately Afrika's like, okay, you're just going to give us the Galio.
It's strong mid for Kuro. I think we can see worldwide some players, like we saw Faker on Galio. You know, you want to have him carry, or over in North America, Bjergsen on Galio. Come on, like, you need to.
Come on, guys.
The picks have to match the player. If you don't mix and if you mix and match and you start getting a little fancy, then it almost never works out. But the Ashe and Galio, so trying to repeat what they went for in the last game, they're not going to have the Lee Sin this time around, so you might expect maybe an Olaf pick coming out of Spirit this time around, as it would synergize very well with the heavy crowd control that so far they've locked down.
Yeah, especially with the Gragas pick to follow up. And we do see Ruler jumping on to this Varus right now. They tried to use the Ashe in the last game. It does get taken away from them by the Afrika, who snatched that up as soon as they possibly could. And what will be the final pick here before we do go into the second phase of banning? Afrika going down to the wire, and oh, they're thinking about this Graves. And Graves will be picked up.
Graves or Olaf interchangeable at this point, just because they have enough crowd control that's easy to land early on. So it makes more sense at the time that Samsung run it around. But the next phase of the draft has to be really cautious for both of these teams. Samsung don't have two flex picks, with Karma capable of going into the mid and support, whereas you have Gragas that can go jungle and top. And so they have to get careful not to psych themselves out and go into kind of a overthinking their draft and end up with a composition that's poor, and Afrika have to respect the possibility of the double flex and pick accordingly. So they'll have to go with just very safe standard lanes all around in order to not get surprised by any potential counter picks.
Yeah, well, looking at the mid lane, or the top lane so far, we do see the Renekton ban from Samsung. You know, the Gragas could be in the jungle for Ambition, but if they really want to, Afrika, they can pick that top lane last. So we are going to see the Fiora banned out here as well. The Kennen still available.
Yeah, the Kennen, we did see the answer of Kennen be tried by Huni with the Lucian top. It would actually make sense with this composition, especially if they end up putting Karma in the mid lane and Gragas in the jungle. But the Kennen that Marin ran last time in Game 2, specifically on red side after Perfect Gaming KT, was quite underwhelming. I wasn't too keen on the full AP build on Kennen. There's a reason why Kennen is not seen as your crazy AP carry right now. Remember that the damage on the ultimate got kind of loaded towards the back end of it, and so realistically for a Kennen to get the full channel onto any target is quite unlikely, and it will just be the Gragas in the jungle and support Karma, one of Core JJ's best support, and just the Victor with a revisit and QV's most played top laner so far with the Kled, and seemingly the kind of guy spearheading the charge in this innovative pick. Well, relatively innovative pick.
So I got to take a look here at the final pick. It will be the Tahm Kench potentially for Afrika, being hovered down to the wire. They switched to Nami at the last second.
Yeah, had they gone with the Tahm Kench, they would have almost certainly lost bottom lane, with Tahm Kench Ashe dealing with the heavy push from Karma and Varus. So by keeping the Nami, they can at least try to stay even in this bottom lane, or even have a pressure of pushing as well as even kill pressure and setting up nicely. So I much prefer this pick this time around, but they are in a lot of danger.
Look at the Galio stats there. Average for Galio, KDA is 7.1. LCK mids, outside of that, is 3.9. So Galio, definitely a gigantic pick right now for the mid lane.
To be fair, it's so easy to keep a KDA when you just don't die.
Just don't die. I mean, you were talking about before how Galio doesn't really have pressure.
This is going to be like a history lesson, because way back, way back, when the Rocks Tigers were kind of in their stint of just being one of the best teams in the world, Kuro was actually one of the few players to innovate tanks into the mid lane. I think he was running Scion in the mid lane. Maybe we even saw some games of Nautilus mid. So it's a team that has definitely a player that has tried to go with this style, and it never really fit the meta up until now, where it really seems that Riot Balance team has just said, Kuro, it's your time to shine, my man.
We've got the champ for you. His name is Galio.
Exactly. We'll give you a chance. And so the fact that he keeps playing this pick means that it really fits with the style that he's been trying to reach for a couple of years back. And curious to see what they'll try this time around, as their early game prowess is not quite that strong. And what is that Kennen skin?
I think I've seen that before.
It looks like a cartoon.
It says Pokemon Bolt, like 100 bolts or something like that.
Sonic
Either way,
Cannon.
guys, we're going to be jumping into game number 2 right away. This time a Freak on red, Samsung on blue. Let's jump into it. Huge cheers from the crowd for Samsung. They want them to come back here. And Kive once again onto that Kled. He has been pretty successful on that so far. Kive wasn't really known for playing those carry tops, but coming into summer, seems like he's brought a couple of these carry tops back into his champion pool.
And what's interesting about him playing Kled is that he even cited that he doesn't consider himself one of the best Kleds by any means. In fact, some fans have coined him as kind of the best Kledding in LCK, but well, not a whole lot of people are playing it.
He's like the only Kled in LCK.
But he cites a solo queue player as the guy that he's been taking notes from. And that's just a reminder that, you know, you might be a solo queue player, but your mechanics, your ability to play the game is still capable of being translated into pro play. And it's always cool to see when pros are learning from solo queue players that are one-trick ponies. Those are really the ones that can really just show you the intricacies of champions that, as a pro, you just never have the time to dive into and master.
Yeah, you got to be picking other stuff that are more well-suited to the meta, you know, play enough Gragas top, so you might know how to play that, but you won't know too much how to play onto this Kled.
You know what's talking about? You know what's who Kled counters the hardest?
Who's that?
Volibear.
Volibear.
Bear trap on a rope.
Reel that bear back in. When are we going to have a Volibear back
Annie.
in LCK? Annie, you just steal Tibbers.
Steal the bear. No bears allowed. But just a mirror in this match, and oh, this is not going to benefit Samsung a whole lot, as Martin's going to get a freebie in this laning phase because he knows that the jungler is on his side, but he also knows that Ambition will be so far away from his lane, so you can expect the top side of the map from the Freaks to just really be getting advantages, while the bottom lane from Samsung has to be playing much more aggressive as you see them now, because they have Gragas on their side, and they are taking full advantage of this with some pretty heavy trading.
Tucson taking a bit of damage. No summoners come out just yet. Nice follow-up there from Ruler. They definitely will have that pressure since they both hit level 2. And they're just pushing this one in.
But they have so much regen. You've got D-Shield, you've got Nami. One of the perks about Nami is that you can afford to take these really serious trades early on and then just regen not only with your biscuits, but then your heals that you'll eventually be maxing out. So overall, I think Africa is happy with this, as the chances of them getting dove this early are pretty minimal.
Do you see both the junglers trading the sides of the jungle? They're doing the vertical jungling, but seems like Spirit on the Graves was actually able to go faster and farm out all that stuff. He also left one small wolf, whereas Ambition actually took all the wolves.
It's the perks of playing Graves, just such a heavy wave clear, and this is when you can expect an advantage coming out into the top side, as we just got a glimpse of the wave, and it is pushing back towards Marin, so he has the option of freezing this wave if he wants to, and he will get an advantage, but There he is. Zoning out Cuve as best as he can. Most likely just farming with his bear traps on the rope. What a name. What a name.
Bear trap on the ropes. Ooh, nice trading here from Kuro. Crown taking a nice chunk of damage. Kuro was able to teleport back into the lane.
But it's just the least exciting because you know there's no tricks up Galio's sleeves. He's the most honest mid laner. He's never going to kill you unless you really let him. You know his play pattern.
All of his moves are very obvious too.
Exactly, right? He literally channels charges to you. The taunt is a channel. Yeah. The ultimate is a channel. It's really telegraphed.
He's very showy. Him and Rakan would get along quite well. As Cuve gonna hop off. It's just a bit of trading. It seems Martin still has some nice control here in the top lane. Has that ward down now. Looks like he wants to push it on in. As Cuve is going to back and probably teleport into the lane. Oh, trying to delay that does not.
That would have been huge, actually, had he gotten that. So the minion was really playing to Cuve's advantage there.
See, we're back here watching the mid lane, but nothing's going to happen. They're just both going to farm up. And there will not be any kills. Kind of interesting to see Kuro is ahead about 7 CS already in the mid lane. I think the teleport definitely helped him out there.
But Spirit playing topside here to the solo lanes will likely benefit the Freaks as they have pressure in the lanes, at least topside. But Martin hasn't based just yet. Oh, so this could be an ill-advised engage. Nice steal on it, but Colette is behind him, and so Martin will have to cancel his recall to ensure that his jungler can get out safely.
Yeah, Martin's still sitting on that call, farming up quite nicely. Cuve isn't getting too far behind. But Martin, obviously, with the call, will be in a nice position. Not too much action that we've had in this game. We do see that Afrika is ahead about 200 gold. Very minimal at this point.
The advantages are minimal, but it's clear what they're trying to do, to really split the map. And what Ambition has to go for it. Oh, nice little cheeky damage, but he just charges and gets away. Just so tanky. Such an annoying champion. I laned against it for the first time yesterday.
Yeah.
Did not enjoy it.
It's not a very enjoyable lane. I think it's boring to watch, boring to play against. Annoying to play against, too, because he has no kill pressure. You have no kill pressure. Unless someone messes up big time.
Hey, man, don't hate on the pick. He has feelings, too.
Does he really? The Galio?
I'd hope so.
Friendly gargoyle. See, we're taking a look at this trade, but
yeah, you know he's not gonna kill him.
Yeah.
It's not like a Syndra where out of nowhere it's like I'll press R and delete, Control R delete.
Yeah, nice to see Syndra being banned twice in a row. Still undefeated here.
Spirit is level 6, but there is no kill pressure onto Galio either, because you just know he can just walk away.
Picking up the Dark Seal even. A very nice item to actually get. The bubble does land onto Ruler as the crowd goes wild. But yeah, I mean, he picks up that Dark Seal. We looked at the KDA of Galio. It's so good because he doesn't die, because he's so tanky. So if you can slowly build up stacks and not lose them, I think it's a nice little item to add into your rotation.
It's the perfect fit because he never really has to build AP. You don't build AP on this champion, so you ensure that with the KDA that you're guaranteed to have by staying alive, you're building up a little bit of extra damage while maintaining your tankiness. So you don't have to invest in a lot of AP, and you still get the benefit of just crazy base damages while your build does not get impacted too much.
Yeah, it's really cool. Kuro seems to have figured out this Galio quite nicely so far. By the way, the blue is going to be taken away from Victor here in the mid lane. Might make things a little bit harder to push back against the Galio.
Just great control there. You see that Ashe and Nami are moving towards their own blue buff to ensure that they don't lose their blue buff. And Ambition just keeps trying to take this side of the map that the Freaks are trying to control, but without scouting that control ward, it's just not going to amount to anything. And I really like this style that we're seeing from the Freaks, one of the teams that really seems to be trying to identify the meta that they want to play, which is play to the solo lanes. And you would have said this before about this team anyways, because of the players that they have, Kuro, Mar, and Spirit. You'd expect play to revolve around them as opposed to Kramer and Tucson. But now that the meta really favors these picks, as well as Herald being such an instrumental pick in killing mid lane, then it really just seems to be going their way. And even though the CS advantages aren't there, they're getting chip damage on turrets, they're denying blue buffs, and slowly but surely, it will amount to something.
Eventually. Hopefully. I hope so,
Soon,
Crumbs.
TM.
Can only stand the passivity for long enough. Ruler's sitting on a ward right now. Doesn't seem that he knows it, but JJ was making his way up into mid lane, trying to clear out some of that vision. So Ruler just alone by himself, playing very passively, just farming with the piercing arrow.
Not a whole lot happening. There are no TP wards that can be crazily used by any of these teams to surprise anybody, even though Cube and Kuro do have theirs available. And so the blue buff will be given to Kuro this time around, as Spirit did deny the first iteration of it. And with this blue buff,
oh, ooh,
nice,
almost
okay.
stolen away. Good control there by Kuro.
That was blind. They did see it get started, but they never really saw the HP in the brush. So that would have been a really big steal, as the pressure on mid lane can mean objectives being taken, especially this dragon. Even though it is a cloud dragon, it's really the only thing that can be available right now. You don't have crazy kill pressure onto Kled. Onto the mid lane, obviously, it's a lot harder with Graves and Gallia, as the cleanse is very much the tool that will get you out of any sticky situation, whereas Lee Sin has the opportunity of going for an insect kick on you. He has enough damage to solo you out from further away than the Graves does, and so the objective game, unfortunately, is relegated to one of the worst dragons at this time.
Yeah, definitely part of the reason we don't see too much action here. Even Ambition just walks on by it. He's like, no, why would I ever go near that Drake?
Slips out like butter, but he does get scouted out by the initial ward behind it. Clears that one out.
Kuro very confidently in between the jungle and mid, and Spirit is going to join up here. Yeah, he's in a bit of trouble. There is the burst damage. Easy first blood for Afrika. There's the heroic entrance. He will get the knock-up. Lots of damage coming onto Spirit, but he will get a double kill. As they do trade kills onto Spirit, he does go down. Kuro getting a bit low as Kled makes his way down. Tushin trying to roam into mid along with JJ. Looks like Cuvée wants to dive. Will he get the kill? There's the tidal wave, and he does dodge it as he hops off Scarl and makes his way out with the flash.
Cuvé's violent tendencies pay off there, just being able to collapse with his ultimate. Just really great turnaround. What initially looked like a just Ambition move getting completely caught out is salvaged by the rest of the team. So much damage coming out from Crown, and a fantastic roam there from the Kled. We'll take another look right there. Just deleted right away. Q, knock up.
Right up against the wall.
Maybe the ultimate wasn't even needed, who knows, but so much damage there from Crown that is able to nearly solo out the Graves. But the Kled damage, the physical damage at this point in the game, when you're dealing with a Gallia who's still a magic resistance tank, just can't stand up to the physical percentage HP from this Kled.
And the teleport from Marn was so close to getting off cooldown. That must have been about 10-15 seconds left. I was taking a look after the fight. I'm like, why didn't Maro TP down? But Marn, rather, he did not have an up. So unfortunate that he could not come in and help out his team.
Well, he does have the teleport now, so Freaks are in a better position to start making moves on this map. However, there are no crazy wards for this. Cuvée, he does have Merc Tread, so Kennen might be tougher, and the teleport advantage does benefit the fact that he is going AP.
There's the stun.
He's trying to get him to go on to him, but he's not falling for it.
Spirit even delaying that recall, but
he knows he's in danger. He knows that Graves is nowhere to be found, or at least in the top side of the map, because Ambition's roaming blue side. And so he has no reason to play up. Because they didn't find Graves there, you can always just infer that the vision tells you that Graves has to be in the opposite side of the map, as he has been trying to split the map pretty much all game long.
My question is, will Crown get a blue buff in this game? It's sitting there, it's waiting, but no moves towards it just yet.
Well, even without blue buff, he's still at a pretty decent pace in the CS. 126 so far. Doesn't really matter that he has a 10 CS advantage over mid lane. That's not much of a crazy thing to go home about. So in the meantime, we still see vision for the river and bottom side for Samsung and Freaks. While they're moving to the bottom side, they have to be aware that Kled is kind of going Mia and can roam as he's moving himself towards the river, perhaps securing the Scuttle Crab.
Oh, some plays down here. Can he land the cast? There it is. Should be an easy follow-up. Galio's going to get there too late as Samsung do pick up another kill in the bot lane.
And they're comfortable doing this. Even though they don't have the teleport advantage, Crown is already there. So the fact that they can react sooner means that they can mitigate the idea that teleport would result in a collapse. And there are no wards behind them anyway. So the double control wards really paying off for Samsung, allowing them to bypass the teleport move that normally would be countered. And they're able to pick up a free kill onto the Nami, who had previously burned her flash, and as such is just a sitting sashimi.
Poor little fish. Not even cooked up.
Well, that's the best way to have fish.
Not my opinion, Crumbs. Either way, this is the kill here. The follow-up. Nice job from Ruler to start off that engage, and Tushin was just dead meat.
No, raw food, man. Raw is the way to go.
Well, we had some discussion about all the different raw foods that are available over here in Asia. They had raw horse meat, I think was one of them, raw chicken as well.
Yeah, I'll pass on that one. I'm okay without diseases.
Yeah. I just got to get used to eating that stuff. I've been getting back into sushi, but the sashimi for me is still a little bit hard.
Speaking of hard, seems like hitting the bear trap on the rope on Marin. Not the easiest thing to do when you're dealing with such a small character model that also happens to be a ninja who harnesses the power of lightning.
Yeah. Slips right through Marin. Doesn't even see it. Kive for most of this lane has just been trying to farm with that bear trap on a rope.
But it's impressive that he's kept up in such a close pace, even though he participated in that fight in the mid lane, and still only 15 CS down for a lane that you would have expected to go a little bit further in Marin's way. And that's just the power of farming from far, the Doran shield, and Marin's build being a little bit greedier than most with the cold start. So he probably still even in gold just because of the 1 kill and 1 assist, kind of evening out on the value of that coal and a little bit of CS.
It's kind of interesting how that feels up into the top lane. If you get a little bit too close, Kled can always engage onto you, especially after a bit of time, as Marin tries to re-engage with that Proto Belt. By the way, he is going back into what looks like AP Cannon. So we weren't too impressed the first time we saw this, but it seems like this is the new build for Marin up in top.
That's to flash the bubble. Galio does have his ultimate ready to collapse if anything were to happen to Spirit here. And still no wards for Marin to TP to, so the cannon, the AP cannon, not capable of assisting the team just yet, so Africa will really need to take advantage of some lanes pressure, preferably the mid lane by now, as you can see, and try to get some deep warding so that they can really make use of this cannon build.
Taunt comes down, no follow-up bubble, just a bit of trading here, as we are just going to sail on in, very relaxed into the mid-game.
Oh yeah, that's a 2-0 win going here right now. Just super calm, and you're practically pumping your own sail at this rate.
Pretty much. Finally, we do have some action here towards the Drake.
They did get the ward behind the dragon, which is at least better than no ward, and not really the craziest teleport place to go to, but a poor attempt at starting that dragon, and so the Freaks feel a little bit anxious in this match compared to the power that they had last time around. I think it's just a matter of what you can do with your jungler. A champion like Graves doesn't offer a whole lot on his own.
Also, the other part of it is they don't want to take too big of a risk just to get a Cloud Drake. If it was an Infernal, a Mountain, maybe they would pressure more towards it, at least try to, you know, set up some kind of engage that would be favorable for them. But finally, it looks like perhaps Samsung will be getting this Cloud Drake, as Afrika seems to have given that up. No, they stop it. Okay, never mind.
Cloud Drake is needs no man as she belongs to nobody, because nobody seems to have any ability to really secure this objective. The Vision Wars really make it difficult to start it around, and even though the objective doesn't mean much, it's kind of the only thing they can fight for right now. No kill pressure in mid, no kill pressure in top, as the junglers would most likely not be able to secure these kills onto the relatively easy to get away from ganks of Kennen and Kled.
Seeing some trading up in top lane. Marin doing a nice job fighting back.
Finally, some thought that they get scouted. Oh, man. Just a lull. Yeah, we're in a trance here.
Yeah. Sit back, relax, guys. Maybe go make some popcorn. As things will definitely, I think when things heat up, it will heat up very fast. We should have a lot of action very fast because we're already here at 19 minutes. No one has even gone for the Rift Herald. I mean, once Baron gets on the map, we should have a big fight. Okay, here we go. There's going to be the flash. Core JJ will dodge a lot, and Ambition is waiting there in the brush. But here comes Galio, the heroic entrance. The teleport Indo from Cuvée. Will Spirit go down? He will. Kuro trying to dodge, or rather go very deep onto the Ruler, who is extremely low. Almost snipes him down. Not quite going to be able to do it. Meanwhile, Crown just chilling in mid.
The backwards collateral damage gets Spirit further deeper into the enemy line, so he has to flash out and ends up dying. The one kill going their way, but mid lane goes to Samsung's way after all this, so they're able to claim first brick, and this is exactly what Samsung wants. The fact that mid laner was cracked on a one-on-one basis, and it all goes to Crown. The wave clear that previously was hurt by Herald being up, she's no longer alive. You no longer have to worry about her.
Definitely advantageous here for Samsung. I mean, they're getting this Victor extremely fed. Even going to steal the red buff cheekily here. You can see Marin is coming in, but a little bit too late. And gets all of that first blood, Durant gold, all of the farm.
And red buff on mages now is actually, on pretty much anybody, is actually really good because it regens you. So when you're out of combat, it goes for the regen. But we'll take another look at the replay. Spirit opens up with the arrow and the tidal wave both miss. But oh, Spirit here gets knocked into the team, but back, like, that's the wrong way.
He's trying to just burst down Ruler, obviously, but just not quite enough damage comes out.
I mean, alternatively, you can flash over and hit the other way. But
meanwhile, in live, you can see, oh, the collateral damage. This time it's on point. Nicely done by Spirit, but there's the counter engage, a double kill for Crown as they line him up. This could be a triple even. No, they're going to give that kill over to Ambition. The assist does go to Crown. As finally this Victor has shown up in this game.
Oh, he got that red buff, he got the Void Sap, and he's just so spiked right now. It's nearly impossible to take a fight against him right now if you're not destroying him immediately. His ability to unload damage immediately is just so strong, and that's one of the perks about Victor. Just one of the strongest burst champions, one of the few champions that, oddly enough, can engage with just damage, and you don't really see that too often.
Yeah, didn't really get to see the beginning of that fight, so I'd like to get another replay on that. Oh, they're going on to Kuro. Crown's coming down, and you were talking about that huge burst damage. They just need to lock him down. Cuvée takes him out alone. Not even an assist going over to Crown, so Cuvée could have done that by himself.
It's those violent tendencies on Kled. His ability to deal % damage and shred tanks is just so strong, and when you're dealing with a Galio that isn't fully built to deal with physical damage carries, then he just struggles so much, so he practically gets soloed out under the turret. But now Marin is the target, and he doesn't have vision just yet, and Crown does have flash, so he might just,
he hits it. Bear Trap on a rope is going to lock him down, and there's the burst damage. No chance at all as he gets burst down underneath that turret. That's 2 kills for Samsung down there, and things are beginning to spiral out of control.
The solo lanes from Samsung doing so much work here. They're going to be able to turn this into that first brick bottom lane, but still, the Cloud Dragon has yet to be touched. Just still waiting for somebody to pay attention.
She's been touched, but she hasn't been taken by either team. That's for sure. Poor Cloud Drake.
No. Oh, man. The wording. Phrasing on that.
It's okay.
Touched, not taken.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great dating profile and bio right there. Touched, not taken.
Poor Cloud Drake. I mean, she just wants to be replaced by someone else. So this is how this fight begins, as Marin, he tries to engage onto Ruler, and eventually does come out with a nice collateral damage snipe from Spirit, just barely catching him on the edge. But once Crown comes in, this fight was immediately over. Look at that.
And they committed everything to try to go for the Varus and then the Gragas. So by the time that Victor gets there, when you don't have anybody that can just jump onto this hard carry, it becomes really difficult to deal with. And that's why last game, Victor had to play so much more respectful when you have to not only worry about Galio, but you have to be careful about Lee Sin. But when you have a Graves whose gank path or damage and play pattern is just so obvious and not really capable of taking you down before you can, then he has so much more freedom to play as aggressive as he wants to. And with the advantage that he has, it's really damn aggressive.
Well, we have another turret taken out here, the last Tier 1 turret for Samsung. And we've seen Samsung, when they're on blue side, the incredible control they have of the red side jungle of their opponents when they try to bait the Baron is just amazing. And I can't wait to see what they do here, especially with the Victor pushing down mid super fast. And Afrika, it seems like they're in a really rough spot, already 6,000 gold behind.
Yeah, Samsung is one of the most impressive Baron teams so far, and they're finally just going to say, let's take this gamble and see what comes next. As they don't really want this Cloud Dragon, but with the advantage that they want, if they can get lucky and get a good Dragon out, nope.
This is like, I feel like every time we cast, we never get these exciting dragons. It's always Cloud.
Don't read into it, man. Don't tell me more.
It's so unfortunate. I think we've seen one Mountain Drake.
Yeah, we had a Mountain Drake last game. We've had some Infernals, but so far no dragons that have been game deciding.
So, Crown sitting on this ward. Okay, there he goes. Was waiting for the cooldown on a sweeper.
And yeah, that triple sweeper from Samsung means that it's a really intelligent itemization, because normally you'd see mid laners go with the blue trinkets. Galio is going with the yellow this time around, but blue really helps a lot. But when you're against two flankers like Galio and Kennen, making sure that there are no wards around you is going to be infinitely more valuable than seeing them. Because if you group up and they come at you straight ahead, they know they can win the fight. But whereas Afrika's win condition here has to be surprise Samsung. Go from behind, try to get onto the backline and eliminate Crown and Ruler as quickly as possible. But if they can't find wards and they keep getting killed by the triple sweeper and endless control wards, and they'll always have to fight in a way that will always benefit Samsung, and such that they are always going to feel comfortable taking fights because they're going to be on their own terms.
Look at the positioning from everybody on this Samsung team. Only Kled is down in bot. Might even get a solo kill on Tamar, and this is just incredible amounts of damage coming out from this Kled. The stun comes out, but there it is. The charge underneath the turret will get that very easy solo kill. Marin just overestimating on this AP Kennen. And once again, not very impressive, Crumbs.
Yeah, we saw it coming before an arrow gets used onto the Baron. That's just a sign that the control that Samsung has on this match is insane, as arrow has to be used as a scouting tool. So Africa have to group up and give up CS left, right, and center to try to reestablish vision in the Baron side so that they don't bleed out on the objective that will surely be their demise. This is actually close to a perfect game too. Three kills only for Samsung. So both these teams seemingly having offense fully charged in their charts, but the defense factor just not there.
Yeah. Look at how clean this is from Samsung. Anytime a ward gets placed down, they take it out. They sweep it out with their triple sweeper. Anytime one of their control wards gets sweeped, they place another one. Core today, I think he had like 3 or 4 control wards going into, from the last time he backed, and still, there's barely any vision from Afrika on that red side jungle. They decide to go for the Baron. The second the Hawk shot comes out, they say, no, we're not taking a chance. We're just not going to go for it, if you guys know.
And it just puts so much pressure onto Afrika here, as they have to constantly be checking that side of the map and giving up kills or giving up CS, giving up jungle camps that just only grow Samsung's lead further. That is already at 7,000 in under 30 minutes. A lead that you only really expect out of the lower teams, and it seems like both these teams are capable of making each other look like lower teams, even though they're clearly not.
Liking the blue side so far.
Yeah, blue side really seems to have a whole lot of power, but I think that so far the sample size is a little bit too small. We still have to wait a little bit until these compositions make a little bit more sense.
Yeah, I think I saw a post on Reddit about LCS was like 68% in favor of blue side, but again, it was after week 1. So as you're saying, we need more time to see exactly what's going on here.
I think universally blue side has been favored pretty much forever.
Yeah. Oh, they're going to try to engage. They see Spirit on a ward. There's the flash charge on in, and this guy is absolutely dead. Kuro tries to come in and be very heroic, but not really going to work out. So they get the pick onto the jungler. Wouldn't be surprised if they immediately go for that Baron.
Gotta say, a bit sloppy there from Spirit as Ambition went for the auto attack in between the combo. He did have the opportunity to flash over, and as the jungler dies, this means that it's an easy Baron to secure. They have the option of completing or churning, but there are no Chains of Corruption available.
Yeah, they are going to get back onto that backline. The 4-man taunt, a big tidal wave. Cuvée eating a lot of damage. Do they have enough follow-up, though? Big redemption. The arrow is going to hit, actually, CoreJJ in the backline. They're trying to go. Oh. Here comes that AP Cannon with the huge slicing Maelstrom. Isn't enough damage, though. Doesn't really look like it. They're making it pretty close. Ruler will finally take out that kill, and down goes Kramer at the end of it all. They make it really interesting, a very close fight, but Samsung will come out ahead.
And Kuro went in and tried to zone the entire team, but the key factor here was Samsung, or was the gravity field, and Kled being the front line, just absorbing so much damage, buying so much time for Samsung to just chunk out Kuro and really mitigate that tankiness that Galio has. And because of those moves, it made the fight so much easier. And we'll take another look right here. Take another look at Kled and the gravity field. Just nobody there to come in. You just can't push forward when you're dealing with the front line that Samsung has played so far. They're really good positioning from their carries, being in the back line, but the Kennen here
this
flashes out of the gravity, or the Chaos Storm, and the exhaust just allows them to survive. Otherwise, they would have just gone down really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the exhaust, because a lot of times these support players, they don't really get that favor, but we actually have another engage in live. It looks like Spirit this time will flash.
But that exhaust is actually the reason why AP Kennen right now is not so strong. If the exhaust did not came out right away, which is nearly impossible because of how quickly Marin played it, the damage that normally would have been in the initial burst of Kennen would have taken out everybody. But because it's in the later half of the ultimate, it means that you can have time to hit the exhaust and really slow down the crazy ramp up of the damage. And so a really good move from CoreJJ to scout that out, that you wouldn't have expected Marin to flash that aggressively when the Chaos Storm took him to under half.
Well, when you're sitting on the Andres, Void Staff, Proto Belts, you do have a lot of damage, but as we said, it's backloaded this time. There is counterplay available, and that's exactly what we saw. You can kind of see the idea out of the composition, especially with the Galio. If you can taunt up like 3 members even, that's a huge amount of burst damage and time that you allow for this AP Cannon to get into that backline and get that Slicing Maelstrom in, but so far we haven't seen it perfectly executed.
Yeah, it's a bit of a pipe dream. There's too many moving parts that they have to keep track of. Yeah. Not only does their execution have to be great, and Kramer and Spirit have to be able to follow up because of abilities like Gragas Cask or the exhaust to really slow down Kennen, but then you have to be aware of, is Karma's movement speed going to get them out of range? Is Gragas' body block or gravity field going to be too much to get past? And is Kled is going to be able to soak up so much of the damage that should be following up that the initial CC just doesn't go through? And now Marin has to have that flash once again before they can look for another fight that could be the perfect fight that the Freaks are looking for.
You were talking about that pipe dream. I mean, it's not even just only Kennen Galio. It's also the tidal wave from the Nami. It's the engage from the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. It's the big AoE burst damage out of Graves. If they could line everything up, it sounds like a sick comp on paper, but we haven't seen it yet. Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks.
It's not as easy to execute as the most famous Wombo combo that was the Curse of the Bullet Time, I think was the name. The Sad Bullet Time.
Oh, with a Mumu MF?
Yeah, yes, a Mumu Misfortune. That one's a piece of cake.
Oh, yeah. Well, Spirit's getting engaged upon again. This time he will survive. He doesn't have his flash. Again, Samsung, whenever they have control, whenever they're ahead on blue side, it's basically just the fight for vision, the fight for picks.
And the only ward that the Freaks can really claim some pride to is that one on the outside of the Baron pit. That's the only ward that hasn't been cleared yet. That if Samsung were to go around and enter the Baron pit through the river, they would be able to scout it out. But if they choose to go through the Blast Cone, then it's really not going to work. So the Blast Cone does get popped there by Crown, and Freaks still moving forward, as now that the carries are Mia, they have to be careful of Baron being started, as it already is.
Afrika, they're coming on in here. They do sniff this out. Oh boy, huge amount of burst damage onto Spirit, who's just backing away. There's the TP though, they want to engage. Does get canceled though, so Samsung going to re-engage onto this Baron. Can Spirit get into position in time? There's the engage onto Kuro. They are going to move off this. The tidal wave totally misses. Galio all alone. Still not taking too much damage. Finally, this might be enough. He's still alive. Okay, finally he goes down. And they do get that pick. They had to use a bunch of stuff to take him out, though.
Yeah, but all that oh, nice engage.
Ooh, huge counter engage there. Kramer is going to be burst down here. The redemption comes in. He's actually fighting toe-to-toe. Almost takes out Core JJ. But does get taken out. And, well, Samsung, they have a couple of very low members. Cuvée could jump onto that Skarl, though, very soon. And it looks like they are going to re-engage onto the Baron.
Just not quite enough. Marin does have flash if he really wants to get fancy here, but that would just be a risk. Spirit looking for a steal, but he doesn't have flash, so it's going to be a really tall order for him.
Doesn't have collateral damage either.
Has to be coordinated with Marin going in if they really fancy this.
Oh, they're jumping over the wall. Ruler's going 1v2 right now to zone them out. Here comes Marin, though, going 1v4. There's the exhaust. He is going to be CC'd down, and a double kill goes over to Ruler over the top of this. That's going to be an ace for Samsung and the Baron.
Great move by Ruler there, knowing that nobody else has the tools to deal with the Graves from going in. Gragas being the smite, and the only really reliable CC would have to have gone over the wall. So he says, I'm going to do it myself. Flashes over, takes on the 1v2, and he has heals still to both. So just knowing the limits of his champion and secures the Baron for his team.
Really nice play there from all of Samsung. They finally get the Baron. This is the play from Ruler. We're going to see him go 1v2. As you were saying, didn't even have to use that heal. Marin tries to go 1v4. Not able to steal the Baron. Just gets exhausted down and looks totally useless.
And this 1-3-1 is going to be real tough for the Freaks to deal with, as you see. Gragas and Victor topside QSS. No big deal.
Easy peasy.
Rotating now to control 2 lanes. Trying to take down this tier 2. But the thing is, when you have this wombo comp from the Freaks,
Uh-oh, Crown really going too aggressive. Forced to use his flash to safety over the wall.
But a good chunking. There's no heals left on Samsung to keep Victor alive for this push. So if they choose to stay, he's going to have to play really far back. Otherwise, he's going to be in danger. But he has red buff on his side now. So it's actually going to not matter at all, as the red buff regen is going to be easily capable of getting him back to full HP.
The big team Karma Shield. Kuro does have flash. He's always threatening the taunt flash. Marin, he's going to get out of position. There's a huge heroic entrance. Doesn't seem to matter, as Victor, Crown here going legendary in this match. They're looking to continue pushing mid. Okay, they decide against it. They might want to go bot, as there is a pretty big wave down there, and they should be able to easily take out this inhibitor.
Just secure bottom inhibitor, and then it becomes just doing the steps that have always been done. Recall after this and go straight to the top side of the map. So Samsung
following the playbook.
Exactly, right? You read it a million times, and instead they still have 30 seconds onto Marin. But this could be the engage that Africa would want, as teleport is available onto Marin, and there is a ward in the red buff. You see the pings going down, so we know what Africa is going to try to do in the next 20 seconds. So if they can stall out this wave long enough, their idea might result in a teamfight win, as Crown no longer has flash. 10 seconds onto Marin.
They still have the flash here from Kuro when he eventually decides to flash taunt. Is Marin going to come out? Okay. Nami just disappears, as Tushin getting a little bit out of position, and their dreams of any kind of engage seem to go down the drain.
Just no patience there from Africa Freaks. They could have waited just a couple of seconds longer, and they could have had a chance. In the end, the fact that Tushin goes down keeps them at a man disadvantage, and so Samsung take 1 Baron, and the game is over from just that one play.
Yep, there we go. This is going to be all tied up 1-1. Africa is trying to re-engage here. Galio, he looks really cool. Not going to do all that much, and down goes the Nexus. We are going to a Game 3.
It's the really commanding victory for Samsung this time around. 6 kills given, but no turrets, no dragons, so full objective control for them, and Crown just having such a great game. Ever since that dive into the bottom lane, he was able to secure the extra gold for that first brick, went to the top side, and when those kills go to Crown, the best Victor out there, it's pretty hard to deal with, considering that you have nobody that can really pinpoint him and then take him out when he has just so much shields and body lines to protect him.
He finished the game at 9-1-7, and This is what happens when his Victor gets out of control. It's not a champion that you can really ban out. He has so many other champions that he can pick. He's got Orianna, Talia, Syndra. You got to ban out some of those higher tier picks. You're never going to get to a point where you're banning out enough mids to eventually get to Victor. And so they just got to play around it. That game, they weren't quite able to.
Exactly. The Talia and Orianna have been banned in the first 2 games, and now they have to really reassess.
As well
He's
as
really
the Syndra.
thinking, maybe the build's not good. Maybe AP Kennen wasn't the way to go.
Yes, please. Kennen will go down to 2 and 5 on the stats. Also, Graves down to 3 and 9 after today, taking 2 losses so far.
It's the junglers, man. You have to bring some sort of utility. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Against the weaker teams, you can get away with it, but you really need to be expecting some sort of value that's not just damage coming out from the jungle. Meta has evolved that you really need to be bringing something, and Samsung recognized it and put ambition onto a Gragas, whereas you could have thought the Graves would be revisited, or maybe even the Olaf, and this is one of the best kills in the bottom lane. That's Nami had burned her flash, easy peasy. They also get the heroic entrance as a result, so lots of value from that play, and that's when Africa had the teleport advantage, so good move from Samsung.
This was cool here. Cortete, he dodges all the CC, and the TP comes in, and Spirit, he's trying to go way too deep with the opposite direction on the collateral damage, trying to burst down Ruler, does get taken out. And this is when Crown took the mid lane turret, and then came over here and got a double kill, and that's when everything got out of control.
Cannon ulti went down onto Ruler, the Proto Belt, the ultimate for the collateral damage, just everything thrown at him, and then when the real fight happens, you just don't have anything. It's like playing one of those games and you burn everything on the minions and you realize you have no ammunition when the boss fight comes around, and you just got to go back, reload the game, and think about how you played it the next time around.
Yeah, unfortunately that means they have to win it in game 3, as they can't just reload game 2. This is pick after pick. This was the very exciting fight for Africa. You can see the tidal wave is used, and Kuro tries to go 1v5. Great zoning out by the Victor. And then the re-engage by Africa, but the immediate exhaust.
Just such a clutch play right there. Otherwise, Ruler certainly would have gone down, and that could have been the fight that the Freaks were looking for. But Core JJ has really been stepping up, and the use of Karma, he's one of the first guys that last year is really bringing out Karma as one of the most heavily prioritized picks and really making it work, showing that not just Zyra, not just the Karma, like he's got tricks up his sleeve that are pretty difficult to deal with, because when you're playing well, the picks aren't everything.
We can all agree that Cortese is a beast. I mean, he's been really fantastic on both Zyra and Karma.
I think we can agree that if you're on Dignitas at some point, you were a beast.
A beast in one way or another.
Beasting it up, man.
That's the way it goes. So the results here, Africa had a cleaner game, as Samsung was only afforded 1 kill in the previous game. But Samsung, they get close as well. So both these teams performing extremely well on the blue side. You can see that Marin had a lot of damage done, but didn't really seem as effective. You know, looking at just this number doesn't really add up to what you see in the game.
Exactly. Pressure is something that will never be on your stats at the end of the game, but we know just how important it is. And one of the things that importance has perhaps been overvalued is the Graves. Just really not doing enough for me anytime around. He's not clearing as effectively early on. He's still debating.
No smirk this time from Marin. He's like, oh, you mean I can play the cannon in game 3? Oh, that sucks.
Well, they are going to be blue this time around, so the Freaks have another good chance for redemption.